Hello everyone, welcome to Best Recipes with Sharon. This video will be all about how to make easy caramel shortbread squares. So let's get right to making this. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then get some simple ingredients together and let's get started. Prep an 8 by 8 inch cake pan by greasing it and lining it with parchment paper. This will make it easier to remove the squares once they're set. And let's start by making the shortbread base. In a large mixing bowl, add 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour and half a cup of icing sugar. Then 3/4 cup of softened butter. And mix this all together until it resembles coarse crumbs. And when you pack it down, it will all stick together. So take the crumbs and dump it into your 8 by 8 pan that's already been prepared. Then smooth it out by using your spoon or your fingers and pat it down until it's nice and smooth. And it should be evenly distributed right into the corners of the pan. Now it's ready for baking. Pretty easy, eh? Stick it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. And you'll want to place it on the middle rack. And when you make shortbread, it's difficult to tell when they're actually done because they don't turn brown on top, so your timer is very important. Then remove it from the oven and let it cool down a little bit. And you can see what it looks like here, just lightly golden on the edges. All you need now is 1 can of Vigo brand caramel flavored sauce. Pour it in a small saucepan. Place it on the stove on medium to high heat. And be careful not to scorch it, so you need to have a spoon handy and stir it frantically during the whole time that it's heating up. Because this has to come to a boil and boil for 5 minutes. But in the process of heating it, you can scorch the bottom, and you certainly don't want to do that. So stay with it and stir it continually. I even lift the pan off the heat once in a while, just to regulate the heat that way and keep it from burning on the bottom. This caramel sauce will thicken up after it's boiled for about 5 minutes, so set your timer and keep an eye on things. And if you can master this part, then you've got it made, because the rest of it is pretty easy. And this part's pretty easy too, it's just standing over the stove for a few minutes. And the reason that we're heating this up is so that it will thicken up a little bit. And we'll have that lovely thick and chewy caramel layer in the middle of the squares. You can see here how it's starting to thicken up, and when it starts to do this, I switch the spoon out for a whisk, and I whisk it really briskly so that it becomes nice and smooth. Now then, just simply pour the thickened caramel on top of the baked shortbread. And use your spoon to spread it out evenly. Then set this aside to cool down and set. And it will thicken up a little bit more as it cools down. So then let's get ready to add a little bit of chocolate. So we'll use 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips and we'll melt them in the microwave. I take and put the microwave on for about 30 seconds on high, and then I check the chocolate chips and stir them and then put them back in for maybe another 20 seconds. Don't overheat them or the chocolate won't come out nice and smooth. You can see how nicely melted the chocolate is here, and we're spread it over the top of the caramel. And then set that aside until the chocolate sets. And you can leave it just at that, but I always like to go one step further and melt a little bit of white chocolate and make a fancy design on top. And I'll show you how to do that. What I'm using is just a bar of Lindt white chocolate. And I only broke up about half of the bar and melted it in the microwave. Being careful, once again, not to overheat the chocolate, just melt it long enough to make it smooth. And there may be a few chunks left, but just continue to stir it until it's smooth. Then you place it in a Ziploc bag, and snip a little piece off the one corner, and use this to apply the white chocolate to your squares. Okay, so the rest is basically watch and see. It doesn't have to be put on super fancy to start with, and you can go back over it and correct it if it's not completely straight. And make your lines right to the edges as well. Using a butter knife, You just pull right through each of these lines, and this is what you get. And you make sure you put the white chocolate on while the semi-sweet chocolate is still not completely set. And that way you get the desired effect. Pretty cool, eh? And made with some pretty simple ingredients. Now set that aside to set, and when it's set, you pull off the parchment paper and use a sharp knife to cut them into squares or bars. I hope this video was helpful on how to make these squares, and I hope you make them and enjoy them. And until next time, happy eating!